for me, it was a stark difference when I came into a product company like Microsoft. I used to get into the project as a designer, design the interface, and then get out before even the development started.
Hello, design enthusiasts and designers. I am Manushi.
And I'm the Bangana.
Welcome to the premiere episode of ODC, where we engage in candid conversations with amazing designers every week.
Today, we have got someone pretty remarkable joining us, a seasoned interaction designer with almost a decade of experience under his belt. He has a master's degree in interaction design from ITC IIT Bombay. He has been sprinkling his design magic at Microsoft for a solid 4 years now. This guy doesn't just stop at pixels. He is also a practicing architect. His stunning projects have graced the pages of Arch Daily, the Zine, Architectural Digest, just to name a few. So, without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to the incredible Puneeth Hegde. We are absolutely stoked to have him grace our podcast today. Hello, Puneeth. How are you?
Hello. Thanks, Debangna and Manushi. It is great to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me to this podcast. I'm really looking forward to this one, and it'll be fun talking to you both.
Yes, welcome to the first ever episode of ODC. Thank you for joining us today. Yes.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad that I'm the first one here.
So, Puneet, let's start with how you ventured into the realm of interaction design. If you can briefly walk us through your journey.
All right. So, in terms of design itself, I'm an architect, as you already mentioned in the intro. So, being an architect, I was inclined towards design. I mean, not only just architecture, but also there is furniture design and whole lot of product design and so on. But it was time when I finished my architecture, and then I realized I want to do my masters, and I wanted to do a master in something other than architecture, right? And that's when I got to know about product design as a master's degree. And while I was looking at product design, interaction design was one of the fields that interested me, mainly because of the kind of because of user experience is one, but also the strategy design that it kind of involved, which was different from architecture and product. So yeah, so once I got into the masters, then it was a whole different game, right? And because then I got to know a lot about interaction design, and I really enjoyed interaction design and user experience. So yeah, that's how I got into interaction design.
Thank you for sharing your introduction, Puneet. You have worked in London for good 5 years, right, as a designer. So, I wanted to understand if you can share your experience about how was it being a designer situated in a city like London?
Right. So after my masters, I worked with Mindtree, and through Mindtree, I went to London as a designer. Uh, so in terms of the work itself, there is not much difference, I would say. But it is the environment in which you are working, right? If you are a designer, then London is the place for you, because of the kind of exposure it gives you, not only to interface or user experience design, but also a whole lot of other fields of design that is so accessible to you in a city like London, right? There's so many museums that are there. There's design museum, and then there are design exhibition happening all over the streets of London. So that was different. I think that helped me grow as a designer, and it also introduced me to a lot other fields of design, like say fashion design, uh, and also graphic design. as a field of design. I knew there is fashion design and there is graphic design, but the exposure that the city gave me to graphic design especially was immense. There's graphic design everywhere, and I went to a few museums which were for graphic design and so on. So yeah, so that was the main difference. But when it came to work, I was working on departure control systems, and I would say it was more like access to the I was working directly with the client, so that does make a difference, versus I working from Bangalore and the client is in the UK. So there is that difference. I was sitting with the client, so that was the difference. So as I said, design itself, there wasn't much of a difference when it comes to cities, but it is what the city has to offer you in your learnings of design.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, since you mentioned the city that helps you grow as a designer as well, we have spoken informally earlier about your recent travel experiences when you mentioned that you like to see architectural works of, famous architects. So, can you tell us more about some of those memorable experiences you had recently?
Well, recently, yes. So recently was in New York, where I visited a lot of Bjarke Ingels and many of these architects whose work that I have really admired, right? But see, in the UK, in London, the London or UK is geographically situated very close to Europe. So and this was before Brexit, right? And travel was cheap, so I used to travel a lot, and I went to Roncham Chapel. It's a chapel designed by Le Corbusier, which was an amazing experience. It was situated like in a very remote place. There was only one train going there, and so that was fun. And I could like I visited most of the works that I wanted to visit as a student of architecture. So yeah, that was fun. So that was one more advantage of being in London
Hmm.
as well. Yeah.
Got it, got it. So, again, like when you were in London, as part of also your decade-long experience in design industry, you have worked in service industry as well for a considerable duration. So, can you
Yeah.
share with us how that experience was working in the service industry?
Yeah, so well, this experience is purely my experience that I'm sharing, because the experience differs on when you are in a service industry. It depends on what kind of projects you are into, right? So when I started, I was into these a very short duration project, mainly like 2 months projects. I did a whole lot of them to start with. Right now, what happened there was I used to get into the project as a designer, design the interface, and then get out before even the development started, right? So I many times I had no clue what happened to the designs that I submitted, and it was purely like a billing thing, right? You're billed as a designer, you do your work, and then you're out, right? But then as I said, when I moved to the UK, I was working on a major project of departure control systems, which was a long-term project where I did, kind of detailed work. But again, not so much in the kind of detailing that we do here at Microsoft, right? So again, it depends on project to project. Like in Microsoft, I'm working on a search, team search, which is like a part of Teams. And in Mindtree, some of the projects I have designed something equivalent to the whole of Teams in like a couple of months, right? So it has its own kind of advantages as well. There's a lot of learning in terms of domain knowledge. So if I think of it, that I've worked on like insurance, airlines, and like product. There's so many domains that retail and all of them, right? So in terms of domain knowledge, it's a lot of quick knowledge that you get. So you kind of know how things work in each of these domains. So yeah, so that was my experience in a service industry. I enjoyed, and also I was a part of pre-sales a lot, which also gave me the opportunity to travel, because we used to go and pitch projects. So that was fun as well. But these pre-sales were like really quick designs that you had to do more on a strategy level, more to to get that project. So yeah, so that is a stark difference for me. Well, there are people in service industry as well who are working for clients like say Microsoft, right? And they end up doing exactly the kind of work that we do here at Microsoft as a designer. But I didn't, right? I worked on these different smaller projects. So for me, it was a stark difference when I came into a product company like Microsoft, where so much of work happens in minute details, which is great, right? And you as a designer would love doing that. Again, it's personal for me. I love doing those kind of stuff. Not that I didn't enjoy the pre-sale stuff, but yeah, here it is more thorough and more in detail. So yeah, so that's the difference what I felt while I was in Mindtree versus Microsoft.
Thanks, Puneeth, for sharing that with us. So let's switch gears for a moment and have some fun with the quick game. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a rapid fire round. I'll throw a word at you and you respond
Uh-huh.
with the first word that comes to your head. Like, don't think
Okay.
about it. Okay. So, are you ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
First word concrete.
Tarawando.
Okay. Light.
Light is what is uh, Richard Meyer.
इतना नहीं सोचना.
Planet. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Next, urban.
Urban is New York.
Okay. Then we have minimalism.
Japanese, I think.
Japanese, yes. Maximalism.
India, I guess. Yeah.
That's true. Okay, next. Co-pilot.
Oh, Microsoft. It's Copilot is Microsoft. Yeah. Or Microsoft is Copilot. It's getting there. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So then we have micro.
Yeah, micro is interaction design. Yeah.
Hmm. Then we have visual.
Illustration.
Next and the last one is dark.
Okay. Dark is well, poetry. I don't
Dark
know. But,
poetry. Yes.
yeah.
Not the
I mean,
first word that would pop to my head.
no, actually, see, when you said dark, I love shairis and those very emotional kind of ones, those dark ones. So yeah, they just came to my mind. Yeah.
Absolutely fine. Yeah. Okay, so that was a fun break. Getting
Hmm.
back to diving further into the wealth of knowledge you were sharing with us.
Yeah.
So, since you have a super successful architectural practice, how do you manage time to do so along with your full-time job as a UX designer?
I take up only one project at a time, and architecture practice for me is more of art, right? And I work on only projects that allow me to explore that kind of architecture, right? I have kind of set myself a style that I want to explore, and I do only that kind of work. So I don't do much work. It's only one project at a time, which I do on the weekends. So yeah, and that also not every weekend, because it's just one project. I have a lot more time. That said, I do a lot of detailing, right? So yeah, so it is easily manageable for me because it's just one project at a time, and so I don't take more than one project. Only when I finished a project, it's when I take another project. So yeah.
That's great. I think that is what ensures quality, right? Quality always over quantity. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. Well, can you share with us some top learnings from your architectural practice that has helped make you a better designer and vice versa?
Yeah, see, as an architect, I think one of the things that has helped me as a designer is the decision making. Right, in architecture, you need to make decisions like now, and you can't change that. Right, so you say that okay, the beam is going to be like this, and once it's casted, you can't do anything. Right, so and you have to decide. Like when the contractor kind of calls you and says that, oh, okay, there is this situation here, we want to do so and so, and how do we do that, right? And you have to decide it there, and everyone is counting on you, everyone is looking at you as an architect, right?
Hmm.
And that has helped me a lot in design. I tend to take decisions that are more solid, I would say, right? Then so I wouldn't think of it like this. Okay, let me say something now, and then we'll look at it later. So that kind of attitude is slowly gone. So I think that is one has been a great help, and vice versa from design is yeah, see, in architecture also I design more like graphic design, as in like everything has to be perfectly aligned to the pixel kind of thing, right? It just comes to you when you study design and when you're practicing design and then architecture, right? So all alignments, everything, I look at it to the inch, I can say, or mm in architecture. So I think those have been a big kind of learnings from each other. Yeah.
That was very insightful. Thank you, Puneeth.
So, Puneet, since you mentioned accountability, decision making, and attention to minute details, coming to the challenging part, which involves all three of these things, has it ever happened to you that you presented something that you're really proud of, that you had spent a lot of time on, but the client outright disliked it? So, how do you handle such situation? And if you can give an example of any such situation that happened with you.
Yeah, see, this has happened a lot in design. Architecture is a total different thing, I would say, for me, because as I said earlier, I take only projects that align with my style of architecture, right? And if I think I have a great idea, and that is not working out with the client, then I drop the client, right? So or I drop the project. But in design it's not like that. And in architecture it is like that, because I practice architecture more like art, right? It's like I have a style of architecture, and I want to really kind of master that style, like maybe repeatedly do that style, and then become a master in that. But in design it is not like that, and it has happened many times in design, right? Like I had this idea that I thought is really amazing, and then when I pitched it to uh, the design team, they had a different view of that, and it was kind of rejected, right? And when that happens, I tend to look at it on a higher level. See, sometimes what happens is, as a designer or as an IC, you get into so much into the design that you're doing, or you get involved in the design, that you think that, oh, okay, this is it, I've nailed it, right? But it's only when you talk about or present that design to your peers, you understand that, oh, okay, there are these different things that I had to think about. And what has helped me is that look back from where I started, right? And now this time go wider, right, from a higher level, where this feature that I'm designing, which I thought is an amazing feature, how is it fitting with the whole product?
Mm.
Right. And one of the things that I keep in mind is that uh, we are all working, or the team that I'm working with, we are all working towards building a great product, right? And it's not in silo versus architecture, where I'm the architect. All right, I am the designer there, the only one. While I work a lot with the client as well, but that's a total different. I can do, see, in art you can do anything, right? It's an expression. Um,
Yeah.
but in design it has to be, and that is why it is user experience, right? It is not art. And that is where that difference is. So yeah, so that is how I deal with challenges. Architecture, if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Then I don't take at all. But design, I work around it, because, as I said, that is art and this is design.
Got it. So we all seek inspiration to fuel our day-to-day craft, that we work on in this creative field. Can you tell us about maybe one designer or one architect that you take inspiration from?
Yeah, see, the inspiration thing has been a very timely thing for me. Right, every time I'm inspired by some other architect or some other designer. So, like, currently, I'm really influenced by this architect, Gautame, this practice, architecture practice, Gautame and Siegel. They do a modernist architecture. I am looking at their works a lot, their detailing and everything. And so it is different architects at different times. I've been a huge fan of Rem Koolhaas as well, and there is Charles Correa. And Charles Correa actually, I feel, is more like user experience designer in architecture, right? It really thinks of the experience one goes through when they are in a space, right? So those kind of thing. So that is architecture. So these days I'm really inspired by this fashion designer, Rahul Mishra, right? His series "We the People" was amazing. Not only the kind of, so the "We the People" series that he did was, he had motives of people in the kind of embroidered into the fabric. That was really beautiful. Not only the detail, but also the form itself in his designs were amazing. And when it comes to interaction design, I have been a fan of Johnny Ive, the designer of starting from the first iMac to all the way till Apple Watch. He's been revolutionary, right? And the kind of consistency across design, that language to keep it seamless across is amazing. And I even read that he looked into the designs of the Apple building designed by Norman Foster, the oval, the donut shaped building, as well. So yeah, so but yeah, there are these designers who I really admire, and they got me into interaction design. Like, there's Don Norman, there's Jacob Nielsen, there's Bill Buxton, as well. And yeah, there's Paul Rand, who I have been kind of inspired by a lot, who's um, a designer who's designed a lot of these famous logos like IBM, the Next logo. I like how he uses form in his design, which has inspired me in architecture as well. is Paul Rand. Yeah, and now recently Copilot has been a huge inspiration. There is the recall that was there, that was showcased a couple of days back, right? So yeah, so in terms of inspiration, I just look at everything as design, in all fields of design. But yeah, those are a few of my inspirations. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about your very specific visual style that you have, like especially for your architecture, no? You have a kind of a style that you stick to, and you expect your clients also to be on board with that, and that is how you do it. So how do you arrive at that visual style? Like that would also be a process, right? Because I struggle, like when I'm drawing, like illustrating something, I struggle to stick to a particular visual style. All my artwork are like, well, like different people have worked on it, it would feel like it. So how do you maintain that?
When we say the style in architecture, it not only comes from architecture, but it comes all the way from sketching. So for example, you see a Van Gogh's painting, right? Van Gogh's Starry Night, right? If you look at his pencil sketch as well, you can say that that is Van Gogh, right? The style kind of influences into the other. So right from, I used to sketch a lot, right? And I used to use this technique of sketching where it's a lot of scribbling that I used to do. So what I used to really do is that I used to scribble, dark and light to bring out the form, right? So from there, I always thought that once you get a form clear, I was into portraits mostly. Once you get that form, then you leave it at that. You don't do much detailing. There was a phase where I went into doing a lot of detailing, then I moved into doing more abstract kind of portraits, where I'm trying to get the massing right, the nose, the eyes, and with a little dark shadow here and there, and then I leave it at that. So from there, when I started doing architecture, I felt like, while I was working on the 3D, I felt that, okay, the moment you get that massing right, that is it. You don't have to do more. You don't have to do a whole lot of those small details. Uh, uh, and and that is how it kind of evolved, and it gets from right from sketching to even the illustration that I do. It's all kind of influenced by that. Yeah.
So Puneeth, you mentioned a lot of designers and a lot of trends as well. How do you keep yourself informed about the latest design trends and industry advancements? If you can share something on that.
Yeah, see, I keep myself updated via the social media. So, LinkedIn is for interaction design mainly. All the interaction design updates, all the um, things happening in tech, I get from there. And X or Twitter is also for interaction design. So, I follow a bunch of designers over there. And then Instagram is for architecture and fashion design and automobile design. There are certain things I keep visiting, like I visit the NN group site for the articles that they keep posting, which are really nice, backed by research. And for architecture, I visit Touch Daily and others. So, and there is this Fast Company as well, which is great for design. So yeah, so I keep visiting these and get updated with the latest as well.
Got it. So Puneeth, if you weren't a designer, what other profession would you have pursued? And you can't say architecture.
Well, I was in my plus two, where I was deciding, oh, okay, what do I do? Well, I was doing a lot of sketching. At one point, I thought, okay, let me do law, right? A bachelor's in law. Mm, I don't know, for some reason I felt at that time, but then see, now I can't really think of anything other than design or architecture. But yeah, that was one. Yeah.
Awesome. So now, as we wrap up today's episode, we turn to you for some advice for aspiring designers. So, could
Okay.
you suggest two resources that individuals looking to kickstart a career in design uh, would look into and that would be helpful for them?
What I would suggest is follow designers on social media, right? Because they keep posting a lot of in trend what they're working on, and so on. And then if you are an aspiring designer, you want to be a designer, then you look at all the work that is happening in Dribble or even Behance. Because I remember my days, early days as a designer, I did that a lot. Right, I followed designers and on Behance. And see, when you look at a variety of work, one, it is inspirational, but also uh, uh, you will know where you are, right, and how you can improve, and what you need to do to improve. And yeah, read a lot as well. Not that I'm a avid reader, but see, it's also because of my master's in design. I read a couple of books, a few books, and some research papers that helped me a lot. But I would advise someone who's looking to get into the field of design to read about design, because design is, at least user experience design, is also a lot of research, right? Psychology, you can, and as a designer, I would say, be open to learning new forms of design, right? And they all help you, right? Fashion design, product design, automobile design, all of these help you in being a better designer. So yeah.
Yeah. So if people want to contact you, what are the platforms that they could use for that?
LinkedIn is there, and there is Instagram as well. So you can just find me like Puneeth Hegde on Instagram. You will see a lot of architecture posts there, and on LinkedIn you can find as a designer in Microsoft, Puneeth Hegde. I think I'm the only one Puneeth Hegde in Microsoft right now, as a
Yeah.
designer, right? So you can find me there. Yeah.
Sure. So in the description, we'll link to all your, these details, so your Insta and your LinkedIn, so that anybody can feel free to check those out. And thank you, Puneet, like a huge thank you for joining us today. It was a fantastic conversation. And thank you to whoever is viewing this for tuning in. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes and don't hesitate to drop in topics that you'd like us to discuss in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, share it with others. Don't forget to subscribe. And folks, like until next time, take care and bye bye.
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 Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.